Hey everyone, welcome to the Roy Sports, and if you like everything Xbox, you're in the right place. And today we're going to be talking about that potential direct that Microsoft's going to be coming out with to kind of give us some more updates on the next 6 months of gaming. We're also going to be talking about a lot of RedFall today, a lot of news that I haven't really gotten around to about updates regarding RedFall, and hear me out, potentially Scalebound returning. Yeah, you thought this thing was dead? No. So, let's talk about it. All right, first things first, which is the biggest part of this pie, is they have finally announced a potential date for this Xbox Direct that they're having. Now, Aaron Greenberg came out and posted something on Twitter, and shortly after that, Jez Corden had something to say. So let's see what they had to share. Aaron Greenberg posted on Twitter, "This should be a fun week. Excited for the days to progress." Shortly after that, that's when Jez Corden of Windows Central put up a post talking about this Direct. Xbox will host a new developer direct game show with Arcane, Bethesda, and more. Here's when. A showcase of upcoming Xbox games is on the horizon. I heard that there was an Xbox showcase on the horizon back in December, as we discussed on our Xbox 2 podcast, but have since been able to lock the information down with a variety of sources familiar with Microsoft's plans. It seems the show will be called a developer_direct and may be a part of a new initiative from Microsoft and Xbox to offer information on upcoming games more frequently, outside of the major E3 and Game Awards marketing beats. From what we understand, the Developer Direct show is slated for January 25th at 12 p.m. Pacific time on Xbox's official channels on Twitch and YouTube. Although these dates may be subject to change, the show will be hosted by both Xbox and Bethesda, with deep dives into Redfall, Minecraft Legends, Forza Motorsport, and content from ZeniMax Online Studios. From what we understand, this won't be a full-blown E3 scale kind of show and will be more intimate look at upcoming exclusives. As such, we've heard Starfield may even be skipping this show for a bigger marketing beat later on. So finally, that potential rumor is out. We finally have a date for this showcase that we've all been waiting for. Now, the most interesting part of this reveal, in my opinion, is the fact that Starfield might not be present. Now, I think Jez has also gone on and said that he doesn't really know which games are actually going to be present, so Starfield might be there, but there's rumors that they might be saving a different showcase later on in the year to kind of be the big market push for Starfield. Now, I'm kind of thinking, is this a bad thing or is this potentially a good thing? And the reason why I think it might actually be a good thing is because if Starfield is at this show, I think that will take all the energy and excitement for the other IP that they're trying to show off, like Forza Motorsport, Minecraft Legends, and even Redfall. I think it's going to take all that attention and just suck it out of the room and just pretty much be a black hole, and everyone's just going to be kind of have their blinders on, boop, 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 and just focus on Starfield. And that, I don't think Xbox really wants that, and I don't think Xbox really needs that right now. So I think this is actually a good idea. I think they should be kind of having Starfield stand alone and have it be its own thing and have a very big marketing push for this game, because right now I don't think a lot of people are hyped for these other exclusives that are coming. And so I think they need to focus on these ones a little bit more. But at the same time, I'm also still bummed because I do still want to see Starfield. I do want to see at least a little bit of information regarding that, or maybe at least a potential date for their next showcase regarding the Starfield presentation. But we'll see. Hopefully January 25th is the official date, and we could finally get some closure on these months, upcoming months. And this kind of also runs into a little bit of what is going on with Redfall. So they actually had an interview with the developers, and the developers spread a lot of knowledge and opened up a lot about what Redfall is potentially capable of. And this actually has me a lot more excited about it than any of the actual trailers have been able to show. And I think that says a lot. I do think that Redfall still needs a big presence, and they do have some really interesting ways of going about this game. So let's take a look at that. This comes from Clobril, and he kind of just narrowed down all the big talking points in the game's radar posts, which goes into a lot more detail. So I do recommend giving that a read. I have read it, and there's some information in there that is actually pretty cool, but I'll try to sum it up for you guys. So, new Redfall info. Redfall offers an unfathomably larger open world space than Prey's Talos 1. Home base where you can talk to NPCs, get side quests, story-driven missions, and free roam. Gunplay crucial, hired FPS specialist, id Software helped. Now, this larger open world is in fact the biggest open world that they have ever developed, and it's actually more dense than any of those other open worlds. And they talk about how they wanted to step away from what Dunwall was like and what the Talos was, and even what that weird island was in Deathloop, and they wanted to make something that was a little bit more familiar, something that where people can actually connect with and feel at home with. And so that's why they have this sort of American city type quaint town vibe going for it, which is a pretty interesting thing. They also said that they want to move away from these open world games, and that this was their chance to try to figure out what it actually feels like to build a Arcane game that sort of controlled area and have it be more open. And they said that after this, that they're going to go return to that sort of style where they could kind of have a more narrow idea of what they want to work with. Gunplay crucial. Now, I think this is the most important information. I think this is what really sold me on Redfall, was that they actually had id come in and help them with the gunplay. Now, I've heard this before. We saw it with Fallout 4 where Todd Howard said that id came and helped them out with the gunplay on that, which is awesome. And honestly, Fallout's gunplay is probably the best in the series, but that's not saying a whole lot, just because Fallout is known to have really, really shitty gunplay. But the fact that they actually had id come in and kind of help them changes my perspective on this a lot, because of what I know from Arcane. I haven't really enjoyed a lot of their gunplay elements because their games are more heavily focused on that stealth type gameplay. So this is also a focus on that as well. You can go in stealth, you can go in guns blazing, but to have a game that feels good and to have the gameplay be what is important and what they focused on, is it shows that this is something that they want you to come back to and play more often, and not just focus mainly on just the story elements of it. Two distinct districts: a sprawling urban area, rural designated area. So we're going to see a lot of different variety between those two, and I'm kind of excited to see the differences between them, and if they're going to have different if they're going to have different enemy types or not. Many of these aspects of Redfall aren't predefined activities, but part of this simulated space. Day/night changes the feel of the game radically, and dynamic dialogue system of players talking to each other. So the day and night changes. They kind of talked about that in an interview for a little bit, but they pretty much just said that there's going to be enemy types that spawn at certain days, certain nights. So if you go and you're on a mission, you're heading to a barn or a farm or something, and you get sidetracked, and by the time you get to that farm, it's now nighttime. Well, that changes your approach to that mission. It changes the enemy types that are going to be spawning there. So if there's some enemies that you might not be used to, or some enemies that you don't really like, you might want to tackle that mission in the daytime and focus on that first, and then go exploring. Or if you don't care, you can just progress naturally and see how that changes throughout the game. And I think that's a very cool idea. This allows you to have different scenarios at different areas, and this allows people to kind of all experience something different at different areas in the game. I think this is a really cool thing. Dynamic dialogue system of players talking to each other. So this is something that's also really cool, and I think this will help kind of engage the players into the characters and have kind of build a relationship with these characters, because the way the game starts out, you pick one character and that character is who you are locked into play for the rest of the game. But when it comes down to co-op, you could have a co-op member be any character at all. It doesn't matter if you've already picked them. And but they do recommend that everyone plays as different characters, because it allows for more of a balance, since they all have different abilities and you can use their abilities together to kind of have a different effect, and kind of combine some of their powers together to even make a better partnership there. And they also talk about how as you play with these characters more often, they have different conversations with each other and they become closer and closer, and this allows them to have a better flowing conversation where they're starting to get to know each other and become more comfortable around each other, which is a really cool thing. That it's like something that I liked about God of War. I know that is obviously a scripted event, but with God of War, something that really stood out to me was whenever the characters are walking around, not really doing much, just having conversation, you kind of felt in this world. It allowed you to connect with these characters and feel like this world is really fleshed out and all this stuff is really lived in. And I think that adds a great element to it, and it can also probably lead to some really great moments, whether it may be sad or happy or whatever it is, as we find out more about these characters. So that's pretty much all of the major stuff that came out of that interview and the updates for Redfall. And these updates actually surprised me, because if you've watched my channel for a bit, then you know that I'm not really sold on Redfall yet, but this still hasn't completely sold me. But the fact that id is attached to it, and the fact that they also mentioned in the document there that they actually have collectibles and little notes and stuff in these towns. So if you go into these towns, you'll find notes that will give you more insight on what happened and what's going on, and maybe some background on the events in there. And I'm a real sucker for that type of stuff. So and the different approaches that you and your team can make if you want to go into something guns blazing, or if you want to kind of take it slow and do a more stealth approach. I think that is really cool, and it'll be fun to kind of coordinate with people in order to try to complete missions. So I still need to see a lot more of it in action, and hopefully at this showcase they do show us some more gameplay and really blow us away with this one. And a lot of people were kind of comparing it to Left 4 Dead, which they came out and said that this is nothing like Left 4 Dead, other than the fact that there's 4 people and you're fighting the undead. Those are the only 2 similarities that you will ever see in regards to Left 4 Dead and Redfall. And they said this is more akin to something like Far Cry meets Stalker meets Borderlands, which that also sounds really awesome, because I think all of those games are fantastic. Well, more so early Far Cry games, but it'd be interesting to see what they mean by that Stalker element. But the fact that they took inspiration from those games and even called them out, I think that's really important to kind of grasp what they're trying to go for with when it comes down to Redfall. And I think that a combination of all those things can really be great. And I just really need to see some more gameplay here. But Arcane is a very talented team, so we'll just have to wait and see. So now is the time to talk about the big news that you're probably all waiting for, which is Scalebound. I know that everyone loves Scalebound. Everyone wants Scalebound to return, and I'm not being sarcastic whatsoever, right? Yeah, so this project, Scalebound, has had some highs and has had some lows, and a lot of people, I feel like, in the Xbox community like to kind of put Scalebound down and kind of belittle it a little bit. I personally think that Scalebound looks awesome. I was so stoked to see it whenever they first announced it at E3. I think the elements that were there were really very Devil May Cry energy, mixed with some really cool dragon fights. And if they were able to really capture something great there, I think that it could have led to a great mascot, which is something that I've mentioned before in my other videos. I think that's something that Xbox is really lacking. So ISawTheSaenz just posted a picture of Scalebound, and that's it. That is the whole tweet right there. And if you scroll down, you'll see that Jez says, "No sloth, bad sloth." Now, I don't know if this is a joke. Everyone in the comment section is just saying, please stop, let it go. No, no, no. No one wants no one wants this. I don't know why. Scalebound always looked amazing to me, and I'd love to see this type of character and an Xbox. It'd be really interesting. So what's crazy about this is Jez ended up posting something else on separately, which stated, "Damn it, might have to give Special Nick some props," and that is it. Didn't go into detail about anything. Didn't really talk about much. But something that's also very interesting is Tom Warren ended up commenting saying, "Are the gears turning ? Now, I feel like this is a very not so subtle way to ask whether or not he's referring to the Gears of War remastered collection that Special Nick said is in the works at Xbox. Now, a lot of people also know that Special Nick doesn't really have the best track record when it does come down to leaks, but Jez Corden is a person that you can trust when it comes down to his leaks and scoops. And he responded to Tom Warren saying, "Nah, Nick told me Scalebound is coming back." Now, I'm not really sure if this is a joke or not, but I really do hope that they do something with this franchise, because I'd love to see this idea come to fruition. I don't know if Platinum has anything to do with it, because we know the relationship between Platinum and Xbox has soured over the years, mostly due to Scalebound and the behind the scenes when it came down to the development of that game. Also, we know that Xbox does own the IP to that, so pretty much anyone can work on it if they wanted to. They don't necessarily need Platinum. They could just give it to one of their own studios or hire a third-party person to kind of go in and do stuff with it. But the thing about Platinum is if you give Platinum something that they're actually passionate about, they do great work with that. They, like with Bayonetta, with Nier, they can knock it out of the park, especially when it comes down to their combat systems. And I think that makes those games really stand out, is how good their combat feels. And if they could kind of take that and introduce a sort of dragon buddy alongside you that could maybe have some really epic dragon fights and tell a very fun and interesting story, I think that they could really do a great job with this. But as we all know, they also have some really bad stinkers and some games that have flopped really hard, like Babylon's Fall, which is dead on arrival. Now, another thing I want to talk about is this potential Gears of War thing. Like Tom Warren even asked about it. So I'm kind of curious as to if that rumor that Special Nick heard about a Marcus Fenix type collection actually has some merit behind it. I would actually love to see a Gears of War trilogy remastered in Unreal Engine 5. I think that would be really awesome. I think that if the Coalition was able to go and kind of do that as a project of theirs, I think they could also learn a lot. There was horror elements to it that added a lot of great moments that still stand out to in the series to this day. And nothing is really like the first two Gears games at all. And I do love Gears of War 3 because it did end the series very well. And I've only played Gears 4. I haven't actually played Gears 5. So I heard mixed things about Gears 5. I wasn't a big fan of Gears 4. But I just want this series to come back and hit pretty hard. And I know that this series has a lot of potential if they kind of return to their roots. So I hope that if this is true, I hope that the Coalition is the ones that are doing it. And I hope that they could kind of take a page from that book and incorporate it into Gears of War 6 whenever that does come. But that's pretty much all the news for the past week. What do you guys think? Do you think that this showcase is going to, in fact, show Starfield? Or do you think they're going to take Starfield and kind of have its own marketing push later on? I thought that I was really hoping Starfield would be coming out in April or May. But I highly doubt that if they are going to be pushing the marketing for it to a later time of the year, which doesn't give me hope that this game is even going to be coming out within the 6-month period. So if we might not even make that June date, we'll see. Who knows? But also, what do you guys think of Scalebound coming back? Are you excited? Do you hate it? Do you not want to talk about Scalebound? Is it something that just die already? Stop resuscitating it? And Gears, do you think that Gears of War is actually having a remaster of some sort hidden in the background? And actually, that kind of brings me over to the Fable remaster that Playground Games randomly posted about 2 years ago, where they said something along the lines of, hey, we would normally call this our Fable anniversary, but that name has already been taken. So that was kind of weird. They ended up pulling that tweet all together and then deleted it. So that's still missing. I don't know what's going on with that. But thank you guys for stopping by. I appreciate you guys for all the support over the past 4 months. I really do thank you guys for growing and helping me with this channel. So thank you again. If you like what you saw and you'd like to see more, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll be seeing you guys on the next one. And remember, take it easy.